So hello again and welcome to another update about Stelo. Today I'm going to talk about action buttons. These are the buttons that you sometimes see in the footer section, the bar at the bottom, or indeed they might be higher up at the top of the view, depending upon the view selected in the Stelo wizard. And of course you could move them manually if you so wished. Now a lot of these buttons are generated from the back end on the at this runtime based on settings. I'm going to talk about those settings today, and because of course you don't always need all the options for all the apps. So the first one we take a look at is the attachment. So this is the button that allows us to add attachments to the app at various different points of the process. And of course, sometimes you need attachments or want them, sometimes it's completely irrelevant, and so you don't want the app to be able to collect them or the button to be shown. So we control that in the back-end SAP system in the option to configure form types. So I've got my form type here. I'll open up the detail screen, and here I can see no attachments is an option, so I simply select the no attachments checkbox and save, and then I can go back to the web IDE and refresh the page. Okay, so the page is refreshed. What you might have noticed is while that page was loading, you briefly saw the attachments button appear. And then the logic was applied to make it disappear. And so to get rid of that, stop that behaviour, we just, in the view for this particular app, we can set the visibility of the attachment button, which in this case is sitting in the footer. We could just set that visible option to false, and that will stop the button briefly appearing. We can save that. So the next action button I want to take a look at is the Save to Draft option. And again, we can have this option working and save to a drafts folder for any Stelo generated app. And oftentimes we don't need to. And so again, we can easily get rid of that by configuring the form type and no Save to Draft action. That's all very straightforward. While I'm there, I can also choose the no delete form action as well. That gets rid of the delete form button. Again, we don't often require that for in the app world. So I'll save those changes and simply refresh this screen again. And we see that those buttons have disappeared. We're down to this next button and cancel. The cancel button really is the same as going back, which we get in the launchpad many times, and so that's again something we often want to remove. The way to remove that's slightly different. We need to go into the web IDE. It's one of the standard buttons that's there. It's by default it's false, but we've got some code running in the controller to make it visible. So if we open up the controller, I can search for the cancel button. Here it is. This is where we set it visible. I'll just remove that, just comment that line out. And that means that none of the rest of the code is going to be upset, but we never make that button visible. So again, I can refresh the app view, and we should see the cancel button disappear. So now we're left with this this next button. Sometimes you might see save or submit there. That's coming from the back-end configuration from the routing logic, and so I can go and change that logic now. Again, navigate to my form type. And open up the routing table, and you can see this action next is actually S, which again sometimes we call submit. I can remove that action, and now unless there is an action we can't do anything with the app, so we normally would have at least one in there. And so let's put a new one in for the initial status, and let's say save. New status would be completed, and we're done. So now we'd see a button that says save on it rather than next, and of course we could add more in this same method. So again, I'll refresh the app, and we see that we've now got a save button. Sometimes we might want to remove the icon or change the styling of that button. Again, we can control that in the web IDE. It's right here under Setup Header Actions, and here we can see the default icon for the button. Maybe we don't want one, and so we can set all the button types and the icons there. So if I just, for example, commented out the icon, if save that. If I went back and refreshed this, so we now see the save button there is has no icon anymore, and indeed if we added more buttons they wouldn't have icons. Okay, there's just one more thing we might want to do, and that is to add some colour to this button, change the button type effectively in UI5, and there's a couple of ways we can achieve that. We can do it through JavaScript, so in the same way that we're setting the text and the icon in here. So I could just go ahead and just copy paste that and say set type to emphasized. Okay, so that's the first way I can do it. So I'll just show you that one and refresh. And there we see the button now with the blue background. The other way to achieve the same kind of thing is actually in this fragment definition. So we have a fragment here called action button, and so I'll just comment that out a second. That's a different view over here, and I can open that up. And I see some settings for the action buttons here, and so equally well I could set the type in there, spell it right. Save all that. Refresh the screen. And there we have it. Now the button type is changed, and so we see a different colour. And that's it. That's how to change all the button styling and the options for action buttons with Stelo generated apps. Thank you.